watching it back and forth by frame over and over again.
As you sit here today, do you have any idea how many times that you watched the video?
I would say a couple hundred times.
And when you indicated that you put like this other video as an overlay, is it basically just like putting a transparent piece of paper on top of a picture so that you can add things to it?
That's correct.
Now, I'm going to have you watch the next segment of the video here. Now, sir, what did you do to enhance that particular segment of People's Number 8?
Judge, may I please have the side door briefly?
Yes. And let me know when you're ready. I'd stay proceed.
Thank you. Sir, can you tell us in that segment that you just watched, what is it that you did to enhance that video?
The segment that we just watched is exactly the same as the previous section, except I slowed the playback speed down 1/4. So it's playing back at 1/4 the speed of the video in his previous sequence.
Now, so when you say 1/4 speed, at what speed is the actual video played at?
It's playing about 7.5 frames per second. Normal video plays at 29.97 frames per second or 30 frames per second.
So when you say normal video, the video that you first received from the FBI, that was about 29.97 frames per second, correct?
Yes,
And that's what you consider normal video speed?
that's considered normal video speed. Is where the video stops flickering and you perceive the video to be fluid motion.
And if you were.
I'm sorry, point of clarification. You get all these numbers in. When you say it's 1/4 speed, does that relate to time too? So a 4-second video, once you reduce it by 1/4 would be would it be the opposite way? A 1-second video, you reduce it by 4 would be a 4-second video.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so it's 4-to-1 ratio. All right, that's enough. And both sides are allowed. You can go into your frames.
Thank you.
Both sides can do that.
And sir, if you were to have a video that's 60 frames a second, is that a better video than a video that's 30 frames a second?
The normal eye doesn't perceive much better than 30 frames per second because that's fluid motion. It's where the flickering stops.
And then is there one more segment on the video here? Or was that the end of the video?
There's one more.
That should be. Thank you. And sir, in the last segment that you watched of People's Exhibit 8, what did you do with that particular segment?
The last segment was exactly the same as the previous slowed down section, except the counter was removed.
And sir, prior to coming into court today, we asked you to watch some clips, is that correct?
Yes,
And those were actually clips of this video that you had in hand, correct?
that's correct.
And People's Exhibit 173. Can you see that on your screen?
No.
No. Judge, if I can have 1 moment. Judge, can I have a moment? They just want to show him until tonight to be published to the jury.
Excuse me, one moment. Defense, you want to come up here? Wait. Yeah. Good. All right, go ahead. All right, don't video this if the jury's not going to see it, all right?
So this is what we had marked as People's Exhibit number 173 for identification. You looked at this in the office today prior to coming into the courtroom. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And this was a clip from the video that you worked on, People's Exhibit number
Yes.
8. Did we also have you look at People's Exhibit 220 in the office?
That is correct.
And this is People's 220 for identification is a clip from the video that you worked on, is that correct?
That's correct.
And in People's 20, there were actually 2 different clips in there, is that correct?
Yes.
And People's 219, are these also from your enhanced video?
Yes, that is.
And there are 2 actual clips in People's 219, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, was that the foundation for those?
Yes.
All right, we're back on the video. Thank you.
And sir, those clips accurately depict your video, they're just portions that were pulled out, is that correct?
That is correct.
Can I have a minute, Your Honor? Now, sir, on the enhanced video, at one point you indicated that you actually put arrows where you believe that there were shots fired, is that correct?
That's correct.
And how did you make that determination?
Like I said earlier, I had a gentleman from the FBI's ballistics section. He come over and help me with it. Some of the shots were more obvious than others, where puff of smoke was obvious, and I would go look for that. And then,
Judge, I'm going to object beyond this witness's period of expertise. He's a video expert who's talking about something he consult that.
Well, lay the foundation, state, if you can, that he's an expert in bullet entering into bodies, and he's done the examinations on them, not on videos.
And sir, have you had an occasion to look at what is on videos to see whether or not gunshots have been fired in the past?
one time previous.
How many times? One. All right, then he's not gonna be testifying about the bullets coming in. If he's only done this one time, have you ever been qualified as an expert on that one time that you did testify?
No.
All right. Sustained.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, cross-examination.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Definitely.
How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Okay. You're an expert in video enhancement, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You are not, as the court brought up, you're not an expert in ballistics in any way, correct?
No, I'm not.
And in your video enhancement, you don't actually see the bullets entering the body, do you?
No, you cannot see the bullets entering.
Okay. Judge, I'd ask that the video be stricken from evidence.
But you better go a little bit further on your cross-examination.
Okay. The arrows that you put in, you indicated that you believe those are arrows indicating that a bullet entered the body?
I also had assistance from a gentleman from our ballistics section that was more known for doing this type of exam.
So you would agree with me that as we sit here today, you have no opinion as to whether or not those arrows accurately depict gunshots entering somebody's body?
There's no way I could prove that 100%.
Judge, I'll amend the motion.
State.
Can I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. And actually, you put the arrows where you saw puffs
You
of
object to
smoke.
meeting.
Is that correct?
So again,
The arrows are put where you saw puffs of smoke, correct?
yes,
Okay. So it's not a gunshot entering the body, it's a puff of smoke, is that correct?
yes.
And so the arrows are representing,
I'm going to object to meeting, Judge.
Overruled. This is an inquiry about the foundation. And these are in evidence already, so your objection's overruled.
and so all you're pointing out on the video is where there are puffs of smoke that can be seen, correct?
Yes,
And those puffs of smoke can be seen from any of us sitting here, is that correct?
that's correct.
And so you're not saying that that's a bullet that went into a pond that would require somebody from ballistics, is that correct?
No,
So your arrows only represent a puff of smoke.
correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Herbert.
I think that clarifies it better for me, but let me make sure I understand it. Okay. You put an arrow to indicate a puff of smoke, is that correct?
Yes,
And a puff of smoke is from a bullet striking the ground, correct?
there was one that I saw strike the ground.
Well, your video analysis didn't show that the smoke was coming from the person's body, did it?
It seemed to come from the person's body.
you would agree with me that a puff of smoke, as you saw in the video, is from a bullet striking the pavement, causing the puff of smoke, correct?
No.
What's your objection?
You've never testified that it struck the pavement.
Well, this is cross-examination about his foundation. Right?
Do you remember that question?
What was key? Go ahead.
I don't know if I remember, Judge. The puffs of smoke, you would agree with me that those puffs were the result of a bullet striking the pavement, correct?
It didn't seem that way to me.
I'm sorry, here's the thing, forget about what it seemed like, you're an expert, all right? Do you have expertise in gunshot analysis that you've done this before, that you know the difference between, if a bullet does strike concrete or whatever that street is, would it in effect create a puff of smoke?
Yes, it did one time that I saw.
So that's one time, so that's one time for one puff of smoke, is that correct?
That's correct.
But you didn't do any analysis, and I know you weren't able to, about what was in that puff of smoke, whether it was gunshot discharge residue, whether it was concrete, whether it's asphalt. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. Now, the other thing too is that get the video up and show there was an arrow coming in from the opposite side, right? And nobody asked about that.
That's part of my cross.
You know, sure it was. Go ahead. Get it up. Get the video up. I'm telling you to do that. Pay attention. No, not yet.
The arrows.